Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Don't curse, speak English. Virtuous society. I dare you to listen.
Hey, turn it up. Hey, get on the right side.
Elevate your mind. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show. Linda, boy, this is a tough name. O'Dochartaigh has worked in healthcare as an advocate for victims of child abuse and domestic violence. She wants survivors to know that an enriched, stable, and happy life is available and should be available to everyone. O'Dochartaigh is the mother of 3 grown children and is raising 4 adopted children. You know, women are assaulted or beaten once every 9 seconds in the United States. Linda, welcome to the show. That is an outrageous statistic.
Yes, thank you. It is, but it's a very, very accurate one.
What do you say? And you know, I've gotten myself in some boiling water when I have men calling the show when we talk about this abuse issue and say that me that I'm unfair because there are women that abuse men and do the same. I said, that's so ridiculous. It's so rare. Let's not try to take away from the thrust of the real issue here. What do you say to them?
Well, you know, they're right. They do get abused. Men do get abused as much, but they don't report it as much. They get abused quite often.
I need you to speak up for me a little more.
They do get abused. Men do get into abusive relationships. There are very abusive women out there. Also, it's just not reported as often as it is with women, but there is some female abuse.
You know, define what abuse is.
Well, abuse can be physical, emotional, verbal. It can be many things. Belittling, somebody making fun of you and bringing you down, your partner intimidating you, all different kinds, but it's all for the same effect. They would like to kind of lower your self-esteem and make you feel worthless, so it makes them feel better.
You know, what is the psychology of it? I mean, is it worth destroying the moral and the fiber, the stability of your home? Is it worth it to set this example before your children in terms of that is what they become? Is it worth it to lose respect and the trust and the honor of your family? Do they ever think and weigh the consequences? It's just such a disease that they have no control over it, passed on in DNA and through example.
It's not passed on in DNA. That is a learned behavior. Abusive men learn this from the diapers on. Basically, they see this happening to their moms. They don't like it when they're little, but yet they grow up and turn into the man they are. Not all of them do, but this is how this starts. And it's generational. You see it more in some families than others because it is generational. In real loving families, you don't see this. You know, I'm not saying they don't, and these girls that grow up and become victims of domestic violence, they have watched their father, so many of them, abuse their mother, and they love their dad, and that's how they think a loving relationship is with a man like that. And they go out and they don't really go out to seek these kind of men. They don't think, I'm going to go out and get a man just like dad, so he'll hit me or abuse me or tell me what to wear or tell me how to behave, or so I'll have to walk around on eggshells with him. But they kind of instinctively go after this man because they can see that as that they associate that with their loving father, whom they probably got abused by him too, but they kind of associate those two things together.
But how can somebody love you, beating you and abusing you, and you consider that affection?
I don't know. I've never understood that, but that's kind of the way that you know, you kind of do. Your parents are role models, and they teach you to, you know, to talk, to walk, the way you behave. They teach you your manners. They also teach you your abuses.
You know, let me ask you, talk about the issues and the challenges when you have your husband arrested and pressed charges, given the fact that that man could always return to the home. Or they may not even keep them overnight.
It's terrifying, and it's so many women will not do that. I know in my case, I never did. I was always terrified of that. He would come and get me, and the police were going to be on his side. I always felt like they're not going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe that somebody would do this. And so you're afraid to do it because they say they will kill you, and you believe they will.
You know, obviously, you almost have a fear of coming home to a domestic violent situation. And, you know, this is not even a tough issue. To me, it's pretty simple. You almost, in domestic violence, not only do you change your identity, it absolutely changes who you are.
It does. It changes. You don't get to be the person you would have been if you had never been subjected to this. But there is help. I mean, you can get help. And people that can recognize the symptoms of domestic violence in someone, when they think that their friend or relative or somebody is in a male or female is in a domestic violence situation, they need to ask them if there's something wrong, and don't try to give them advice, but let them know that you're there to help, and notice if there's signs of domestic abuse, with such as, you know, cuts, scratches, black eyes, or they're hiding a lot and staying in so nobody will see that they're too embarrassed to go out and let somebody see that they do have some marks on them, or they feel like they're afraid all the time when their husband's around, or their partner of any sex. Doesn't matter. It's not just men. There are women that are, and it's not just heterosexual. It can be same-sex marriages, same-sex, you know, or heterosexual. It's not just it's not gender specific really, but it's men are more abusive than women because that's just the way it is.
Tell us more of your story.
Well, my story, I wrote a book. Basically, at the beginning of the book, it is my story. And then, of course, it becomes a story I wish it would have been. I mean, that I made it up in my mind, of course. It's a romantic novel towards the end that Peregrine does get away. You know, she does get help, and she does, you know, her friends help her, and she does get away. But he chases her and finds her, you know, in another state across the country. And that didn't happen in my real life. I actually did get help and get away. But I thought, this is the story I would like to have happened. And my story, I was married to a very wealthy oil man in Oklahoma, and he was very nice during the day, and he was a very drunk at night and was horribly abusive. And it was a very scary thing for my two children that I'd had from a previous abusive marriage. And you kind of go from, you know, same dance, different partner. Abused women go to another abusive person. They run away from one, and somebody else saves them. A hero comes along. But those guys have got the ability to recognize this in women. I don't know how they do, but they can recognize that this is someone that, okay, they take them and they marry them, and they're very nice for a while, and then the monster kind of sneaks out.
Was this the first marriage for both of you?
No, I'd had a previous marriage. I married young, and that's how my book starts off. Is she's very young and innocent, and she marries young, and she thinks he's wonderful because he is wonderful. He's everything, but he's an abusive guy in hiding, waiting to come out, and they're very charming. I mean, they're extremely charming. They get the hook in, and then you begin to think it is your fault. When they tell you that enough, you begin to believe it.
So what triggers this violence in these men, and why is it that even in the dating process you can't see the signs?
Because they hide it so well.
I think it's impossible for someone to be that deceptive. You've got to see some signs.
Well, you really don't. They're charming to everybody. And this domestic violence, it's not something they can't control. They don't do this when there are other people around. Maybe in like just a little bit of needling or belittling or not something that anybody, and they kind of laugh when they do it, so everybody thinks they're teasing, but it's just kind of a mean way of letting you know that when you get home, you're going to get it. So they don't do that around everybody else. But they do it when they get you alone, and then you know that bad things are going to happen.
How long did it start in your first and second marriage, the abuse?
In my first marriage, it took about probably 6 months, and I was trying to be, and it started so innocently as, oh, gee, these shirts aren't quite as white as my mother's. So more bleach in the whites, do everything, and then it's this, this isn't, what is this supposed to be, the food that you've prepared for dinner? And it just slowly bringing down your self-esteem till you think, I can't cook, I can't do anything, there's nothing I'm doing right, it's got to be me. This guy is so nice to everybody loves him, has to be me. And it started then, and it just got worse. And in my second marriage, he was a charming, very well-educated man. And we had a lot in common. And he was very nice in the beginning. And then probably 6 months, 8 months later, he was staying out all night and coming home. And
Hold that point. Linda O'Dochartaigh is our guest. We're talking about domestic violence. I'm Armstrong Williams. We'll be back.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.RightSideWire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.RightSideWire.com.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
So the second husband would stay up late at night. Please continue.
Oh, no, he would stay out all night with the girls at the country club. And then he would come home and accuse me of having somebody over there. And I was just pacing the floor thinking he had been killed and was in the hospital. And then I thought that he was so caring because he'd come by the house. He worked right in downtown, at his oil business. And he'd come by 6 or 7 times a day, sneaking in the house. And I thought, oh, he loves me so much. He's just coming to check on me. Well, he was. He was coming to see if I had somebody there. And then he would accuse me and just got ugly, tried to choke me, and just it was a bad thing. Just got worse, would swear at me in public. But I had become so accustomed to being sworn at, because he did it when he was drinking, that it began to not even hear those words. They just began to be conversation. And unfortunately, most women hear those very same words. And other people don't hear those, so they're just appalled. Like in the beginning of my book, the language is appalling, but that is the language that abused women hear. And I wanted other people to hear what we hear, so they'd know what we're talking about. That is a bad, set of circumstances, and it doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are. What doesn't matter, gender, race, whatever. It's a language that is absolutely, you'd understand it. If you couldn't speak that language, you'd know what that man was saying to that woman if you heard it.
Did both your husbands marry again?
They did.
Did their spouses seek any kind of advice and wisdom from you?
My first husband married a couple of times after me, and the next wife after me, I sent her the ring that he gave me with a letter, and I said, you know what, I tell you, here's what this is like. And I wrote down things that he would do and say, and because he didn't buy her a ring, and I didn't want it, I didn't wear it, so I sent it to her, and I told her about him, and she didn't believe me, of course. She did after a while, and she's out of that marriage. They didn't last probably 5 years, so she got out sooner than I did. But I did tell her, but people don't want to hear that when this charming man is just, oh my goodness, just oohing and awing and turning on the charm and of course blaming everything on the other wife, the horrible woman that he had married before. So pretty soon you become that horrible woman, but women don't want to believe that.
Can any of these men at some point in a marriage break this demon, conquer it?
Well, I think they can if they get help, but by the time people seek help, my gosh, it's usually so far down the road that pretty much that divorce, you kind of divorce people in your mind before you really actually sign those papers. So that's hard to regain any of that lost ground, and it's hard to really love something. I could never, ever want that, either one of those men ever. I think I deserve better than that. But I think they can get help if they recognize it and they start doing it. But I don't think the woman can help him so much. The only way she can help him is by leaving him. And you've got to get out or you can be killed.
How did you survive not being severely injured or killed?
I was severely injured several times. I didn't have any broken bones, but I certainly had my share of black eyes and bloody noses and lost partial hearing in my right ear from being slapped on the head, on the side of the head so hard, and had every bit of my clothing cut into shreds down to my underwear in a big pile. When I went to the grocery store, they let you go to the store. They send you to the store, but they don't tell you only have so much time to do this in. And if you don't do it in that allotted amount of time, and when you get home, you're in trouble. But I was severely injured. But I got help. I started seeing a psychologist. A friend of my husband's, actually, that he went to school with, watched me and recognized the signs, trying to bring him whatever he wanted before he asked for it, just to keep him happy. She invited me to join a women's group growth meeting. And she said these ladies could really use your help. But she was really trying to help me, and she did. And I owe her a debt of gratitude I could never repay.
So when did you decide enough is enough? I'm leaving this, and you must have been horrified to realize you left one marriage into a worse domestic abuser.
I did. I did. But you're so. you're so broken down that you actually believe it is your fault, that you can't do anything right, and that I've actually told people I don't do marriage very well. That's what I've told people. I haven't done marriage well, so that's why I'm single. And I don't date. I don't ever want to kind of fall back into anything like that. And I'm afraid that I just don't do it very well. So it was very difficult to get out. It took years, and it took a lot of abuse.
So let's get down to the nuts and bolts for people who really want to know. What are the signs to watch for before the marriage, if you can, but absolutely during the marriage?
Oh, during the marriage, any time that a woman should never feel in fear, of her husband, or a man should never feel in fear of his wife, what he's going to say that's going to make her mad, walking on eggshells all the time, can't voice an opinion. Let's see, any kind of belittling, any kind of supposed teasing that is derogatory or sexual in nature, picking out your clothing for you. And when I hear a woman say, "Oh, John would never let me do that," that just kind of sends a, "Ooh, let you?" Like you're a 3-year-old? Excuse me, ma'am? He doesn't have to let you. You are a grown woman, and you can make your own decisions. Certainly you talk over things with your husband, and that should be open all the time. You should be able to discuss anything with somebody without them getting angry. But when people are so downtrodden and they don't see that themselves, it's hard to point it out to them.
There must be more signs. I mean, in terms of the bedroom.
Intimidation. If they're intimidating somebody, if a woman starts making excuses for her husband, defending his behavior, that's a bad sign. Or her boyfriend that she's dating. Well, he's not usually like this. This is the first time he's ever done that. That's a real red flag. It doesn't take a lot of times. It takes 1 or 2 times for somebody to embarrass you or belittle you, intimidate you, accuse you of sleeping with somebody or doing this and that. You need to kind of step back and take another look at that any kind of fear, any intimidation, strong-arming somebody, that sort of thing. Just kind of control, total control.
But why do so many women not only just remain, but defend their husbands in these relationships?
I think they're embarrassed. Guilt, shame, all that. You just feel ashamed because somehow people can project that feeling of shame onto you. I mean, they can. I only did this because of you did this. See what you've made me do? I heard that so many times. Look what you've made me do. Look what you made me do. And they do that until pretty soon you think you're really doing it. Everybody else loves this guy, and you can't do anything right. It must be you. And so you do stay, you do try to make it better, and there may be children involved in your marriage. And my goodness, you feel like you're the bad one. You're the bad one. And so they stay to try to make it better. And sometimes they're just darn afraid to leave because these guys say they'll kill them, and so many of them do kill them.
What about the parents of these abusers? Do they ever intervene? Could you talk to your in-laws?
My in-laws, they raised this man, and my first husband, my second husband's in-laws, my in-laws were basically deceased. He was an older man. But, and that age has no difference either. It doesn't make a bit of difference how old somebody is because they learn that and they still, and they do that anyway, no matter how old they are. And if there's alcohol involved, it's even worse. People with alcohol get nasty anyway, but when they have those abusive traits, that they really get nasty, ugly and violent. But the other ones, my first husband's parents they thought it was okay. One time, my father-in-law, because I wouldn't give my husband the money I needed to buy groceries, and I said, "You're not going to get this. I have to buy food." And my father-in-law said, "Hit her. Why don't you just hit her and take it?" So that's how they intervened.
Are you serious? And what did your husband? What did he say?
thing because I by that time I was getting ready to leave, and I had grown pretty much. I almost despised that man, and I was packing up to leave with my sister. We were running away secretly in the night, and so I had a skillet. I was cooking something, and I kind of picked it up like I was going to toss it on him, and he backed up, and he went out the door with his dad. That was like the last time I saw him.
You know what? You can't even tell it all when you're in situations like that. So you won't marry again.
I probably would if the right person. I don't think it's the right person. I think you have to become the right person, and then you probably could marry. I probably could marry again.
What about fighting back when someone's abusing you?
I'm sorry?
What about fighting back?
You mean physically?
Yes.
Well, I did. I did fight back, but they're a lot bigger, and I'm not a real nasty fighter, and they can be. And besides that, you're scared, and it's I don't know.
Well, look, I cannot thank you. You've just stay there. I want to come back and give you a proper goodbye. Just stay there. We'll be back. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.RightSideWire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.RightSideWire.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
You know, I can't thank you enough for joining us. How can someone go out and get a copy of your book?
Well, it's called Peregrine, and it's on Amazon, and I have my own website. It's lavendercatbooks.com, and it's lavender with an A. It's LAVANDERKAT books.com, and it's my name is Linda O'Dochartaigh. It's Irish. So.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining us, and I really hope you can find somebody who respects and love and honor you, and that you can spend the rest of your life with, because you certainly deserve it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And thank you for joining us and telling your story.
Thank you.
Wow, what a story. Ray Negron is a community advisor for the New York Yankees who worked with the late George Steinbrenner. He is the author of 3 children's books and the producer of an animated film about Yankee miracles. If it was not also true, you'd think it was a fairy tale. A 17-year-old from Queens spray paints graffiti on Yankee Stadium and gets nabbed by George Steinbrenner himself. Contrary to his public gruff image, the boss, driven by a compassionate inner voice, reclaims the teen at a time when the Bronx is literally burning. Thus begins the unlikeliest of baseball stories, one in which Ray Negron is transformed from street kid to bat boy and beyond, befriending many of Major League Baseball greatest stars Billy Martin, Reggie Jackson, Muncie, Mano, Catfish, A-Rod, Jeter, even Mrs. Lou Gehrig. Negron ultimately emerges as a dynamic community leader, dedicating his own life to helping the sick and rescuing generations of city kids from unfulfilled lives. Yankee Miracles is a book about the power of baseball to transform lives, about all those miracles on 161st Street we never knew were there. Mr. Negron, welcome to the Armstrong-Williams Show, and thank you for joining us.
Armstrong, great to be on. I'm thrilled.
Not as thrilled as we are, sir. So take us back to that fateful graffiti day, man. What a story.
Well, 1973, I'm outside Yankee Stadium with a couple of, actually it was 2 cousins, 2 brothers, and one dares me to put up whatever I wanted to put up on that wall. I put up an NY, a car rolls up on the sidewalk, 2 guys jump out. One brother says, look out. They go left, I go right, and I'm into the arms of these 2 security guards. Next thing you know, I'm in a holding cell at the old precinct at the Yankee Stadium, and within 20 minutes, the guys that put me in there come back, and they tell the cops that are there, give me the kid. I'm taken over to the Yankee clubhouse. I walked into what it looked like Oz with all the uniforms and stuff hanging up on the lockers. Next thing you know, the one man says, give him a uniform. He's got damages. He's going to work off. And that night, I'm the bat boy for the New York Yankees, and the man that caught me was none other than a 42-year-old George Steinbrenner at the time.
I mean, this is fairy tale. It's fantastical.
Well, what was fantastic was the fact that 2 years later, I'm drafted in the 2nd round by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
What were your parents saying to you during this time, and your friends?
No one could believe what was happening, the turn of luck, especially with the fact that I had 2 brothers that were, in essence, would have a life where they're in and out of jail all these years. And so it was so easy to say that, what would have happened had that not gone on that day. You understand? And
he rescued you, man. He rescued you.
Well, I would always say to him that, if you didn't help me that day, if you didn't do what you did that day, I probably would have had the same type of life as some of these relatives. And he would say, no, your story was already written that day. That wasn't going to happen.
How old were you at the time?
17.
Unbelievable. And listen, it transformed your life.
Well, the funny thing about it is just the aspect, like he always used to say, look at all the things that we've been able to do throughout the years because of that one gesture. You know what I'm saying? But he would never take credit for it or anything like that. He was just always happy. Like, for instance, when we worked with Dwight Gooden or Darryl Strawberry or whoever, and he was able to give opportunities to from the standpoint of what happened with me.
So tell us, when he thrust you into that situation, how did you know you had the skills? How did he know you could measure up and deliver?
You know what? He saw it first when, he had Reggie Jackson there in 77. And when Reggie and Billy Martin weren't getting along, yet he noticed how close I was to Billy Martin. I mean, Billy Martin was already like a father. I had known him already. And he saw how close I had gotten to Reggie. Reggie spoke Spanish. I speak Spanish. And so when no one was talking to him in the clubhouse, Reggie would just start talking in Spanish to me because, you don't want to talk to me, so you don't need to know what I'm talking about. And he would talk to me in Spanish all the time. And George noticed this, and he just said, Ray, I noticed the relationship. Please just keep it up because it's helping me. And at the same time, I was close to Munson and Thurman, again, another guy that could be difficult, but yet people didn't know the heart and soul of the guy.
Wow. So this became your career.
Well, it was funny because he later on asked me to go take some psychology courses, of which would end up really helping me because I got to work with some of the best psychologists in sports, and Dr. Charlie Marr, who worked with Michael Jordan, a whole bunch of others, and so in essence, that's something that just continues to help me throughout. And again, a situation where George always pushed me to help him with this player or that player, and today we have the team president, Randy Levine, who is the same. I mean, it's like almost like being with George in a way because he follows suit the same way. He runs it the same way, and it's interesting. It's crazy, but it works. It's a formula that works, and you know what? It's something that we don't make any announcements or anything like that, or we're doing this or we're doing that. We just do it, and we've been doing it since the 70s. And that's all there is to it. It's been a magical mystery tour, and the Yankees and everything that they stand for. I mean, listen, it's all true, and it's fun. And Derek Jeter is all that and more. I mean, what can I tell you?
What was it like for you and your family growing up in the Bronx when you were younger, before the Steinbrenners?
Listen, they used to call it the Bronx was burning, and it literally was. And you know what? As a kid, it was fun, okay? Because, sometimes the lunacy of life when you're a kid, you don't know any better, And I didn't know any better until later on. And the aspect of how, it was fun being crazy, but it was, better realizing that there's a lot to life than just running the streets, okay? And that's something that, in essence, I've been able to be a better father because of George Steinbrenner. I've been able to be a better man because of George Steinbrenner. Remember,
well, tell us how you've been able to be a better father and a better man.
Because you know what? This is the type of guy who he would get into a fight with Billy Martin, and he would be so upset that he would leave the ballpark, and then he would say to me, get in the car, and then we would drive around the Bronx, and then he would see what the real world was, and he would stop, and I would notice how he would talk to people, and after he would talk to people, and people from lesser would tell him what they thought was wrong with the Yankees and how the Yankees could be better and how they could help the people and all that. And he would take this in, and then he would give the people a $50 bill to say, hey, take your kids to go get some ice cream. You know what I'm saying? And remember, in 1978, 79, $50 was a lot of money, okay? But I would see him, and I would see his approach and how he talked to them and how they accepted him. And I would see him with the youth and how he dealt with the youth. And in essence, it just helped me become a better person, period.
How has this impacted your own family and kids?
Well, I like to think that my kids are doing well today because of that, because they watch me. Actions speak louder than words, and they've seen how I go about my business, and they used to watch how I dealt with him and how he dealt with me, and in turn how he dealt, meaning George Steinbrenner, dealt with them, because he treated them like grandkids. Okay, and remember, I'm a Latin American, Puerto Rican descent, and in the 70s I used to have an afro, so you used to think I was black per se, and I was proud of it, and he made me feel good about myself. And in turn, you know what? A lot of times the insecurity that the youth of this country have is part of the reasons why they go astray. And I know that my kids are proud of their heritage and of who they are. And I'm a totally multicultural. I come from a totally multicultural background, whereas we have Latino and we have Black and we have white in my family. And we are all proud of what we are. And I'm telling you that George made us feel good about who we were. And he always used to say, you be proud of who you are and be proud of what you're going to become in life.
We're going to take a break. We're coming back. What a fascinating story. Yankee Miracle, Ray Negron. We'll be back. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.RightSideWire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.RightSideWire.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Whether it's their impact on prison guards, law enforcement officials, business executives, employees, or marriage and relationships, Lorette is dedicated to changing the individual and institutions around the globe. Lorette's diverse network and training courses can help provide you with the tools you need to both wisely and confidently lead, manage, and supervise yourself as well as others. Lorette Business Network, a proven system for achieving success in your business and life. Please visit their website and begin this life-lasting journey with Lorette today, www.lorette.org.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong-Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong-Williams.
How did you find the courage and the nerve? And when you're young, you feel you can do anything to get to befriend some of baseball greats.
You know what? I was blessed at the fact that Billy Martin, who people used to say could be crazy and an alcoholic and all this kind of stuff, but yet, for whatever the reason, he befriended me, and he made me feel like I was somebody, okay? And in essence, you're talking about a guy who was friends with some of the top celebrities in the world. And I will never forget how one day he asked me to meet him in the city, and we end up going to have lunch at a restaurant called Patsy's. When we walk into the restaurant, he says, "Wait here." So he goes to the back and upstairs. Next thing you know, within 5 minutes, the maitre d' comes and says, "You're with Billy, right?" And I say, "Yeah." He said, "Come with me." When we walk into this back room, who's sitting there with Billy Martin? Frank Sinatra, okay? And Frank is there. Your boy Sammy Davis Jr. is there. and a lot of Frank's crew. Sinatra says, "Come on over here a minute, kid." So I walk over to him. He says, "You're Billy's boy, right?" And you know what? I was proud of the fact that when he said, "You're Billy's boy," it was like, wow, Billy Martin must have been talking about me. And to be there with the chairman of the board, and at the time, one of the biggest stars in the world, for me, it was fascinating. It was incredible, and, one of the biggest thrills I've ever had.
Did you ever think you would be working in the sports industry? And what were your ambitions like growing up, and how did they change?
A big saying that George used to have, and he got this from Lou Gehrig, which was, "You can do anything if you try hard enough." And he made me believe that. So in turn, as I was growing, he would always you want to be a professional baseball player? You go for it. And I worked hard, and to the point of being drafted in the second round by the Pittsburgh Pirates, I think I did something. And so after that, I caught the acting bug by watching Reggie Jackson when he was doing all those commercials. Remember, in the 70s, he was the Michael Jordan of sports. And so in essence, he got me to start working in commercials with him. From there, I ended up working on several films, including one called The Cotton Club with Richard Gere, which was directed by the great Francis Ford Coppola. So, again, things just kept happening. Wondrous things just kept happening. I started writing, and Steinbrenner pushed me to go. If you feel that you can write, then go. And I started writing my children's books, which in essence, because I found that was, again, a Yankee miracle. I used to watch how whenever George would do one of his TV shows or something like that, he would always give the money to charity. So Reggie Jackson taught me a long time ago about something that's called found money. So I knew that whenever I was doing these books or anything like that, it's found money. So in essence, I would give that money to charity, especially cancer research and education, because that's been a big thing from the standpoint of my family, and a lot of cancer in my family. So it was something that was important to me to in essence be involved with it. And like, for instance, the Yankee Miracles, the money from that goes to the American Cancer Society, especially dealing with a lot of the cancer that's in the Bronx, etc. And that's it. And that's it. And I'm always looking for my next Yankee Miracle, which is why I'm hoping that around this country people are going to read this book and find out the beauty of what the game of baseball really is all about, and the game of sports.
How has this impacted your family, your community, your success story?
Because you know what? It can happen to you. It can happen to you. We're dealing and living in tough times, and a big part of the tough times is because people don't believe in themselves. They don't believe in the aspect of growth, the aspect that they can do anything if they really do try hard enough, and you can. And people are in essence insecure about themselves, and I just feel that we need to get our self-esteem to a better place and really believe in that, and we're not. And that's why we're having these problems. That's why, in essence, I watch all these different shows, whether it's Fox and Friends or whatever it may be, and it's hurtful to see, in essence, what's happening around the world.
You mean the disaster that we have in the White House? That's what you're talking about.
Well, there and in the White House and everybody's house.
It all starts in the White House.
Well, listen, we're gonna need another 6 hours to deal with that one, so I ain't going there.
I did. So look, out of your entire career, what was the most interesting situation and the most interesting person you dealt with the New York Yankees?
Well, George will always be the most interesting because he was the most fascinating and the man with the biggest heart. And at the same time, everything you read about him is true. Can he be a maniac? Yes, he can. Could he be crazy? Yes, he can. But he was also the most loving. And no one dealt with the youth of this country better than George Steinbrenner did. He's fascinating. He will. I mean, people don't even know enough about him. You know, you need a 6-hour miniseries in order to cover the man, the myth, and the legend of George Steinbrenner. I mean, he's something like we'll never see again in sports. I mean, you know, I've seen some of the greatest of stars and stars bow down to the man because they thought how fascinating he was. You know, and that's all I can say. But you know, I will say that you know I've been thrilled to meet the likes of a John Lennon or a Paul McCartney or like I said before, Sinatra. You know, Sammy Davis Jr. was a prince. He was a hell of a guy, and and another person who befriended me and made me feel like wow, you know. So it's been an incredible ride, and I'm hoping that I can have another solid 10 to have some more fun in a beautiful world that this truly is supposed to be.
How do we empower ourselves to help the underprivileged in our everyday lives?
Well, look, you have to understand the fact that we are blessed and we are lucky. And you know what? As George always said, no matter how bad you think you are today or any day, there's always someone that has it way, way, way worse. And so, in essence, why not reach out no matter what? It's not. I used to say, well, you know, I don't have money. How can I help anybody? And he would always say, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about the aspect of reaching out and giving a hand to someone. Hand doesn't mean hand out. Hand means heart, soul. That's what he used to say all the time. And it took me a long time to really, really understand that. And I feel I got it now, and I'm going to continue to do what I got to do.
If there was anything you could do over again in your career, what would it be?
I would have had better auditions every time I went for a big movie part.
Oh, how could it have been better?
Oh man, I used to freeze up all the time. You know, I would have a script memorized and everything. I had opportunities to read for some of the best films, and I would freeze, especially if I was like auditioning with a big star. I would freeze. I auditioned for Scarface way back when, for the part of Manny, and I froze. I just totally froze.
Well, I know you regret that.
Oh, hey, listen, it was beautiful. I was up for the part of Ricardo Tubbs in Miami Vice, and they literally basically gave me the part, and I froze. I just totally froze. And, you know, every time I would go back to the Yankees, because I would say to George, well, I'm leaving, I'm going to start my new career. And every time I would go back to him, he would just, he would laugh a little bit, just say, "Hey, keep trying. Don't worry, keep trying. I know I know that's one of your dreams." And but other than that, listen, it's been great. You know, he was great. Billy Martin, another fascinating guy. I miss him dearly. Has been fabulous. And you know what, Reggie Jackson, I don't care what anybody says. Reggie Jackson's a good guy.
Listen, how can someone get a copy of your book?
Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, or any bookstore in America. I mean, it's a good, solid book that people are going to enjoy. And hey, you know what? You're friends with Armstrong. Armstrong, you're friends with Stedman and Oprah. They'll like it.
I get your hint, I got your hint. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, and all the best. You have been such a delight to talk to.
Hey, thank you so much, and you've been great. And you know what? I've become a fan throughout the years because of what you've done.
You're too kind. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org. Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
What we need, soul food. Henry soul food. No, we need it, soul food. Henry soul food. No, I like it, soul food. Henry soul food. No, we need it, soul food. Henry soul food.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry's soul